awesome.
I think I'm at about a 7, actually.
Wow, that's great. Tell us your secret. What have you been doing this year to help you track towards your goals?
Um, just try to remain focused. Um, Making my to-do list, my Scrum board. I'm actually putting it in different places, what I need to do, and checking it off as I'm doing it, and just talking to myself through in the day, keeping myself motivated to make sure I can do it, and that I do it when I finish work, because it's a whole nother ball game after that.
Yes, yes, totally agree. And thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm sure Andrea is going to share some of her strategies, but I know that it's simpler than sometimes we make it out to be, and I don't know about you, Sarah, but I know I can get caught up in my headspace and overthink things a whole lot. And I want to see the perfected end and just not focus on getting started, which is the most important thing. So what do you think are your roadblocks?
I think I bit off. I just have more than I can chew. So I feel like I just constantly am spinning my wheels and then
Mhm.
trying to be perfect and delaying just getting something done versus, getting it perfectly done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I know that's something that I've been looking at with just decluttering, and figuring out what I need to say no to, what I need to give back, what I need to delegate, what I need to get help with. So I think the awareness is half the battle of knowing what it is and then kind of strategizing around it. So looking at what you may have bitten off. Do I actually need to take responsibility for this? Can I give it back? And a lot of times, we feel like we can't. It's our pride more than anything else. You know what? So, without further ado, because I do want our founder, Andrea Pratt-Smith, to get all of the time she needs to share on these strategies on how we can do less and accomplish more. So, welcome to the platform.
Thank you so much, Simmone. And thank you so much for joining us. Sarah, Petrella, and Tonka just joined the room. If you can, first of all, just put in the chat and let us know where you're joining us from. And if you're a first-time attendee, that would be great. I think I remember Sarah. Sarah's been with us before. So let us know where you're joining us from. And if this is your first time. So Sarah's from Florida, and she's a repeat offender. She's been with us before. Petrell is Central Florida, and this is your first time. And Tonka's first time, and she's from Long Island. Is that Long Island, Bahamas, or Long Island, New York? Maybe Long Island, Bahamas. I don't know. But for you who are joining us, so it's New York, Long Island, New York. So welcome to our first timers. And I want you to know that it was not by accident that you are here tonight with us. You are here because you were supposed to be here. And what I'm about to share with you is for you, whether you believe it or not. And I want you to know that even though the session is being recorded, this is going to be a hot, hot session. And when I say hot, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be open, and I'm going to be very transparent. So if you've never heard that before, now you know when someone said something is going to be hot, that's what it means. So I hope that you will bear with me as I present. And I want to first of all start with prayer, as we normally do in this community of practice. So if you will join me in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father God, I thank you for everyone who has joined the Bahamas Agile and Project Management community this evening. Lord, I thank you for this platform, for this opportunity to share with persons who are interested in not only gaining knowledge, but for gaining assistance, advice, and help along life's journey. Lord, we know that there are many challenges that come along the way and many blockers and obstacles that try to deter us from our destiny and our perfect will in you. But Lord, we thank you for your guiding path, for allowing us to open our minds to accept what is for you to give to us. And Lord, I thank you for your blessings. I ask that you would bless everyone who is present and everyone who are on their way. And may this community of practice continue to be an oracle where your will is done and where you continue to shine and let us grow in your grace. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen. So thank you for those of you who joined the room. Like I was just saying, we start our meetups with prayer. And even though this is our first meetup for the year, that practice will never change. So thank you for joining us. I see my namesake joined the room, Andrea Smith. I want you to put in the chat if this is your first time joining us and where are you joining us from? And my next question would be to you, if you can share, you don't have to just use the chat because like I shared before, some of you just joined us. Tonight's session is going to be hot. And for those of you who are here, when I said what that hot represents, can you share what it means when I said we're going to have a hot session tonight?
I think it was honest, open, and transparent.
Honest, open, and transparent. This is not going to be your usual meetup. So if you came for this long presentation with a huge slide deck and you want to see 15 or 20 slides, this is not that talk. So I'm being led by the Spirit to speak my truth and to let you know exactly how it is that I do less, but yet I accomplish more. And these are not just strategies that you can use in your professional life, but you can actually implement these in your personal life as well. And you will see these strategies. Some may be common sense, but sometimes common sense isn't so common. And the thing that we think is, like, I should know this, like I should be doing this. This makes sense to me. We don't do it. And we don't do it for a lot of reasons. So first, I want to start by telling those of you who are new to our meetup and who do not know anything about me. My name, like you see on the screen, is Andrea Pratt-Smith. I am the founder of this community of practice, which we started in 2021. I am the CEO of Creative Minds Project Development and Consultation, which is a project management consultancy firm located in Nassau, Bahamas. I am a project management professional and a Scrum Master and a bunch of other things. So I just put a ... behind my name because it's too many letters to put behind my name, and I don't need to put 2 lines or 3 lines of letters. But what I would say on that is I'm a professional student. I love to learn. I seek out opportunities to always have continuous improvement, because when you stop learning, you stop living. And there's always something to learn, whether if it's to learn a new recipe, learn something from a book, learn a sport. You always have something that you can learn. And once you set these goals and you make an action plan to achieve them, then it just happens. But the first thing you need to realize is you can have the goals, but you can't accomplish them if you don't take action. And every January, there's a group here in the Bahamas that they do this thing called Dream Board, where you map out your dreams or your goals for the year. Every year they do these things and they say, well, get out your dream board, get some magazines and put your dream board together. And sometimes persons put, well, I want to get a new car. I want to move into my own home. I want to get a degree or some certification. Or they say, well, I want to get married this year. Whatever they want to, whatever their dream is for that year, they put it on this board. And then they say to themselves, well, it's going to take me 12 months to accomplish these things. But sometimes it doesn't take 12 months. It takes a longer period. Why? Because we let fear stop us from taking the first step. The biggest challenge in accomplishing anything is that first step. And I learned that when I wanted to go to college. And I always used to say to myself, oh, you can never go to college because, your mother is deceased, your father is retired, and you don't have any money. And then on top of that, you have a young child and you're living on your own. This can never happen. I had so many things to tell me, I can't. But I determined in myself, I said, you know what? Cannot exist in my vocabulary if I want to accomplish anything in life. I have to eliminate the word can't and replace that with I can and I will. And that's exactly what I did. I told myself, fill out the application to go to college, take the first step, submit the application. Next thing you know, I was accepted to university. It took me 10 years to finish my bachelor's degree, 10 years as a part-time student, and I was working full-time. But at the end of it, I was so proud of myself because so many persons, including myself, said you can't and this can never happen. So it didn't matter to me that it took me 10 years. It mattered to me that I actually accomplished something that I set out to do. So time didn't matter in that instance because time passes by whether you use it or not, right? Whether we accomplish anything with the time is one thing we could never get back. Nobody has the power to reverse a clock. So whilst my peers were laughing at me and telling me, oh, you took 10 years to finish school. Yeah, but at the end of the day, I have a degree. Some of them never went to school and 10 years just passed by. So I'd rather have 10 years and accomplish something than to have 10 years and still be sitting down and wondering, why did I waste that time? So the first thing I want you to realize is time is not definite. We all have a limited amount of time. And when you think about it, your life has a definite start date. We all were born. We all have birthdays. And your life has a definite end date. We will all die one day. But the problem is we don't know what that span of time is. Some of us get 30, 40 years. Some of us get 80, 90 years. So we have that limited amount of time that definitely is going to end, but we don't know how long that is. So why procrastinate? You may only have a year left. I may only have 6 months. We never know. So you cannot put off for tomorrow what you can accomplish today because tomorrow is not promised to anyone. So I don't know if I need to repeat that for somebody. Well, that's the number one motivator, that time is not definite. We do not have an unlimited amount of time. At some point, our time, we are going to expire like milk. Nobody has milk that lasts forever. Even the almond milk that I start drinking because it has a longer expiration date, even that still expires. You can buy it and it have a longer expiration time, but it still expires at some point. So think of it like that. Our life, like I always say, is a project. By definition, a project is a temporary endeavor that produces a unique product, service, or result. And it has a definite start and a definite end date. By definition, our life is a project, just by that definition. So if you treat your life as a project, shouldn't you have goals? Shouldn't you set milestones? Shouldn't you look out for deadlines? Everything about a project you should implement into your life. Everything. The dependencies, the blockers. You know, sometimes you need help to get something done. That's your dependencies. Some things you can't do on your own. You need help. So you need to depend on someone to help you to get to that finish line for that particular goal. So you need to know identify who do I need to help me to get to this from point A to point B. Then your blockers. What is blocking me? Is it a money issue? Do I have a limited amount of money to accomplish this goal? Is it a time issue? Do I just not have enough time allocated to this goal? You know, it's so many different things that you need to look at once you set your goals, because they don't just happen because you put them on a wish list. It's not going to happen like if you go to Amazon, you have an Amazon account and you put what you would like to have in a wish list. Oh, I would love to have this. You don't get it if you put it in a wish list. You have to actually take action and buy the product. So it's some action that is required to get you what you want. We all have nice want to haves. I have a lot of things that I would love to have. But if I don't take the necessary steps to make sure that I get to that point, it's not going to happen. It's just wishful thinking. Now, when you think about it, what stops you from accomplishing your goal? I'm going to put this to the audience because I want this talk to be interactive. It's hot, but I want it to be interactive. What stops you from accomplishing your goals? When you think about it, what makes you press pause? You don't have to type it in the chat. You could speak up. Like Pete says, all planning and no action. Exactly like I said, you have to take action. You plan and plan and plan and plan. And then you plan so much till you just psych yourself out like this is too big. And like Sarah said earlier, before a lot of you came on, Sarah said, I think it was Sarah who said this, that she overthink things. I don't know if I'm calling Sarah right. You overthink things because you're a perfectionist. Like, I cannot move until I'm sure I could get it just right. But you don't have to make it just right, you know. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I say recovering because sometimes I don't know how to let things go. And I had to learn that you can edit and edit and edit and just keep holding on to something because you keep want to edit. But we still have a saying in project management, ship it. And when you ship it, that means let it go, release it into the world. You just have to know when it's time to let something go. You can't, you can keep working on it, but perfectionism is not what the world needs. The world needs action. The world needs you to release what it is that you're trying to accomplish, because 9 out of 10 times, when you accomplish your goals, you're inspiring so many other people who you don't even know are watching you. I would never have thought that, being an island girl living on this small little 21-mile long island. Our island is only 21/7. You guys probably drive further to get to work than we do from one end of the island to the other, right? So we live on a tiny island in the Caribbean. But persons from all over the world are watching and they're saying, well done, you're doing so great, you're doing this, you're doing that. I actually had somebody on LinkedIn commented today that he feels as though I'm the Energizer Bunny. And I smile at that comment because I'm like, okay, is that a good thing? Like, is it good to be considered like the Energizer Bunny? He's like, you're doing so much. And it's not that I'm doing so much, The strategy that I use is that I limit what I do. And whatever I start, I get it to finish. Because you know what happens to us? We start so many things that we feel as though we're being productive. But how many of you know being busy does not equal being productive? There's a difference. And we like to say, I'm just so busy. I'm busy. I can't do this because I'm busy. Being busy is not good. I don't know if you realize that. Everyone could be busy. I'm busy, but am I accomplishing anything? It's the work that I'm doing every day in the 86,400 minutes, seconds that we all have every day. Am I being productive? Am I accomplishing my goals? Am I making the most out of every day? Am I making anything matter in my life? Am I changing anything in this world? And that's what we need to think about. I had a college professor who used to tell me, you should never get out of bed if you don't have an agenda for the day. It's better for you to stay in the bed than to get out of the bed and do nothing with the day. And I was just astounded by that. And then it really hit me. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It's like, why are you even bothering to wake up if you have nothing to accomplish? You are not working towards anything. You're just looking forward to watching Netflix, which you could watch anytime because you could just pull it up. So, you have to have more out of life. You have to want to accomplish more out of life every day and make the time matter. We don't know how long we have, so make it matter. Make the most out of each day. So I think I saw Pete had his hand raised. Pete, I want to acknowledge that. If you had a question or wanted to make a comment.
Thank you, Andrea. It's just a comment about what I said earlier on, but I think you kind of clear it, and then you did a good job on that. But just to add to hear that we all are very, very good with really planning, whether we like it or not. Ideas of how to make our life good, a year wonderful, always come every second, like you did mention. Now, it is not how many ideas that we have that matters. It is what we do with those ideas. So knowing fully well that it takes just one idea to change everything.
Yeah.
So just look for one of those very good ideas, act on it. And once you're done, act on the next one. What we can do is capture those ideas, but you don't have to work on everything at once, but one after the other.
Yes.
So that's good.
Yes, thanks for that, Pete. And you hit on something that's very powerful. You know, you have to prioritize your life and work on what gives you the most value. And that's how we work on projects. I don't know how much of you in here are project managers, but that's how we work on projects. We know that we can't do everything. So we prioritize what is going to give our customers the most value. What is going to make our customers happiest? And that's what we work on first. Because at the end of the day, every project, and like I said, your life is a project, you want to deliver value. So if you know you have a limited amount of time, I want to do the most valuable stuff first. I want to make the biggest impact in my life while I have it. How can I accomplish that? And I do have a slide deck, which I can share, but I didn't want to share the whole deck because, like I said, I was led in a different direction when I sat down and thought about this presentation. And I want to share with you just two slides. This is my opening slide to say, do less, accomplish more in 2024 and beyond, which is the title of our topic tonight. And to let you know that limiting the work in progress, all of the things that you're working on, actually helps you to accomplish more. And like I said, persons love to use the term, I'm busy. But let's change that into, I'm productive. I can see results. I can see every day that I'm checking boxes. I'm just not busy. I'm productive. So if you want to coin any phrase, let's coin that phrase. I'm not busy. I'm productive. And let me show you how productive I was. This is just a clip of my accomplishments. And let me give you a back view, a preview of when this started. I was laid off from my job at the beginning of 2020 when the pandemic started, January 2020. And like so many other people, I was wondering, what am I going to do now? I've been with this company for over 20 years. I'm in senior management. And now I don't have a job. I felt deflated. I was fearful about how I was going to survive without any income. And a light bulb moment went off. And I said, well, I have all this training. Why don't I go and start my own company? So in 2020, I started my own project management consulting company, Creative Minds Project Development and Consultation. That's in 2020. Let us mark this time. That's 2020. We are in 2024 now. And a few months into starting my company, I was doing some research about community of practices in the Bahamas. And I realized that there was none. And so I decided that I will start the first and only community of practice in the Bahamas for Agilists and project managers. So in 2020, I founded the Bahamas Agile and Project Management Community. And in that year, before the end of that year, I sat my PMP certification. So I became a project management professional certified with PMI. I sat my Project Plus, and I also did the certified Scrum Master. All of this before the end of 2020. In 2021, I obtained my Certified Agile Leadership Essential certification, which is from Scrum Alliance, and a few other ones, but I don't even recall because the time and dates all mix up. But I know one thing, last year was a banner year for me because I decided that I would explore becoming an international speaker. I had this goal, I wanted to be an international speaker. I did my first few speaking engagements virtually, and then I was contacted by the PMI Africa, the PMI Africa, what you call that? The group in PMI Africa.
PMI Africa.
PMI Africa. They, I attended one of their virtual meetups, and they announced at the end of the meetup, like they normally do, we are looking for speakers to speak at our meetups virtually. And I said, oh, okay, you know, I could speak at PMI Africa virtual meetup, fine, not a problem. So I sent them an email and I said, I'm interested in being a speaker at one of you guys' virtual meetups. And they responded back and they said, well, Andrea, we have our PMI Africa conference coming up in September of 2023, and we want you to be a speaker. And, you know, I wasn't even thinking that this was an in-person conference. I was just thinking it's a virtual thing until they said, no, we want you to actually come to Nairobi, Kenya and speak at this conference. So I was like, you all know I in the Bahamas, right? Because that was my question. I was like, you all know I in the Bahamas, right? So they're like, yeah, we know you're in the Bahamas, but we want you to come to Kenya and speak at our conference. And that was my first in-person international speaking event. And at that event, I met Pete. So I think that's when Pete and I met in person at that event in September of last year. But I'm saying this to tell you, I had this goal, and in project management, we call them big, hairy, audacious goals. I don't know why, but it's BHAG, of these things that we think are mammoth accomplishments. Like, we have to work so hard for them to actually manifest themselves. But I made it my big, hairy, audacious goal that I would become an international speaker. And in less than a year, I traveled to Africa, a continent that I had never stepped foot on, to speak at a conference that I could never imagine I would have been speaking at. And this is something that happened in a short period of time. And now in 2024, I'm not even going out and seeking speaking engagements. I am being contacted and saying, are you available at this date? We want you to come. We want you to come. And I'm just saying this to say that everything happens when you make up in your mind that this is something you want to accomplish and you take that first step. And a lot of times what stopped us is this little voice in our head that tells us we're not good enough. I could have said to myself, I want to be an international speaker, but who am I? You know, I'm just this island girl from the Bahamas. Nobody knows about me. You know, I don't really have that much of a speaking portfolio. I just did a few little virtual meetups. No one's going to take me seriously. I don't have enough knowledge. Like, I could have told myself so many things to discourage myself from even taking that first step, from responding to an email. And what we need to realize is we are our own worst enemy, because we have that little voice in our head that tells us we're not enough. But when you can change that thinking and reframe the way you think about yourself, then you then become your own advocate. And you tell yourself that I am so worthy that I don't need to put in proposals for speaking engagements, that I would not need to go and run down anyone to have me on that lineup of speakers for conferences. I will have to turn away invitations to speak. And that's my reality now in 2024. I have to check my calendar to see if I'm available to attend a conference. When I just started this journey, I don't have a huge speaking profile. I can't say I've been speaking for 2-3 years. I've been speaking for a few months. But obviously, persons feel as though I have something to say. And what I have to say is that I've had to learn to believe in myself. I've had to learn to realize that I have to see my own worth before someone else can see my worth. And it took a long time for me to get to this point of self-promotion. And I'm still not even good at it, because when people say, well, what do you do? And all this stuff, I shy away from talking about it, because that's how we're trained sometimes to not be, we call it being boastful. And they say, well, oh, if you talk about yourself in this manner, you're bragging, you're braggadocious. No, it's not being braggadocious. It's having self-confidence. It's having the feeling that I'm worthy, that I can be in the room with anybody else, that I don't have to feel inferior. And if you can get past that mindset, you'll be surprised how much things you can accomplish. Because I'm still amazing myself over the fact that, you know, my history goes back to when my family members, when I was a teen mother, and I sometimes share this. I was a teen mother, and persons told me that you would never accomplish anything in your life. You ruined your life. You're a nobody. So coming from that mindset and persons trying to put those limiting beliefs on me, to seeing what it is that I can accomplish, that I can be the first at something, the first person to start a community of practice for agilists and project managers, the first person to become a professional Kanban trainer in the Caribbean, the first of this, the first of that, is a huge accomplishment. And it's all because the limiting beliefs that others try to impose on me, I didn't allow them to remain on me. I switched the script. And sometimes you need to do that self-inspection and do that reflection and tell yourself, like how somebody said, I think it was Simmone. Simmone said, I can't remember, motivation. You have to motivate yourself and believe in what you can accomplish. And I have another thing on this screen that I want to share with you before I take it down. I haven't announced this publicly, but I just became an authorized training partner with PMI to be an instructor for CAPM. And why am I saying this? Because in the Bahamas, we don't have anyone who is an authorized training partner affiliated with PMI to teach the CAPM exam prep course. Another first. And I'm saying this because I was told by PMI that this is a long process, that this is going to take months to happen, that it's a stringent interview session, and you got to do this and you got to do that. And I'm like, okay, I hear you. But you know what I did? I went and I prayed about it. And I said, Lord, align me with who I need to be in alignment with to make this happen swiftly. And can I tell you, from the first conversation I had with the company that I'm aligned with, it took less than a week for this to happen. Less than a week. And PMI officials told me this is going to take months. And in less than 7 days, it happened. So I am saying this to encourage you, not to brag, even though sometimes we need to self-promote and we need to talk about our accomplishments. Because if people don't know, then we're missing out on an opportunity to inspire. And the purpose of me showing you this is to inspire you, to let you know that whatever your goals are, don't let anyone tell you you can't, because there's no such thing as can't. There's something called I can and I will, and you have to be the one to prove the naysayers wrong. And I don't know if there's any questions in the chat. I see someone writing notes. So do we have any questions? I'll pause for questions. Are you guys feeling inspired? I'm going to ask the question. Are you feeling inspired by what I'm sharing?
Yes, very well inspired. Definitely there are times when that little voice will come up, especially when we don't know how to accomplish things. just from the stories you've shared today. I think what we need to really put at the back of our mind is the place of taking action and the place of prayers as well. Sometimes we definitely do not know because we don't know what we don't know. Especially sometimes we go to those people that we think know the way and know the answer, and all we get is further discouragement. For example, you went to PMI and they said, okay, it's going to take a long process. And that's the truth, it's a long process. But again, it went back to the place of prayer. You also took action and boom, it happened. So the story is the lesson, I mean, is whatever we want to accomplish, someone has already paid a price somewhere, and you can actually achieve it by standing on their shoulders. If you don't take a step, ask questions, it doesn't happen. Worst case scenario is you take a step and it doesn't happen. But why don't you take a step and see how it happens? So thanks for sharing those stories, and they're very, very, very inspiring.
Yeah. Thanks, Pete. I want to ask a question of the audience. Do you remember when I started my company? What year was that?
2020.
2020. Thank you. And what's so remarkable about that is that when persons were complaining about the pandemic and how they want to reset their life, I was on a roll. You know, I was accomplishing one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. And person was like, I just need a do-over. I want to reset 2020, and I waste my whole year. And, you know, this pandemic caused me to be behind schedule with my goals. And I'm like, why? Why are you behind with your goals when we had so much free time? We were home doing nothing. So study, take a certification. What were you doing? And they was like, no, I accomplished nothing. I did absolutely nothing. I'm like, how is that possible when you had so much time? You didn't have to go to work. You were in lockdown. You know, so I don't know if some of you can relate with me, but when I first started 2020, I was so lost. I could say lost. I was feeling lost because I had no work to go to. I was not going to school at the time. I signed up to take my PMP exam, but I was like, I'm going to put this off and put this off and put this off. And I was just procrastinating. So I started watching Netflix and I got addicted to The Walking Dead. I don't know how, but I started watching that like 6-7 hours a day. That was my thing. And until I just had this revelation, I'm like, what are you learning from this? Is this thing ever going to happen? Like, when am I ever going to have to fight zombies in my life? And what skills is this Walking Dead teaching me? And I'm like, you need to get out of this funk and really start accomplishing some goals. And when I started my company, I was so inspired. I'm like, I love to learn. So I'm going to learn and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I started joining a lot of meetup groups, and I joined meetup groups and participate in things all over the world, all over the world. So I was in Africa, I was in Australia, I was in Canada. I mean, I was everywhere. And person was like, how come you're everywhere? I went to this Women in Agile Africa meetup group. And they were saying, tell us where you're from, where you're joining us from. And I said, I'm from the Bahamas. And one of the ladies said, well, how come you in this Women in Africa group? And I said, because we're virtual. I could be anywhere. And she was like, I never thought about it like that I could be anywhere in the world because we're virtual. I just stayed right in my geographical region. And I stayed in these same meetup groups. And I never came off the continent of Africa. And I'm like, you don't know what you're missing. Because I'm in Africa one day, I'm over in Europe the next day, I'm in the US another day, and I just started joining all of these different communities. And let me tell you, take this, just another takeaway. There is power in networking. There is power in networking. And let me tell you what I've gained from networking. I joined the Women in Agile community, free organization to join, cost you nothing. I've already obtained 2 scholarships from them. 2, not 1, 2, Women in Agile. And one was to attend a Women in Agile retreat in St. Petersburg, Florida. Not last year, the year before last. So I went on a trip because of a scholarship and met some of the same women who I were meeting in these different meetup groups, who I just knew virtually, but never saw in person. So that was life-changing because we all felt like we knew each other forever, but we never physically touched each other. So that was an opportunity just to connect physically. The next scholarship was just last year to go to the PMI Global Summit in Atlanta. That was a scholarship that I won just for applying. Didn't have to do anything but follow the form. And when the Women in Agile organization sent me the email and said, congratulations, you were awarded the scholarship, I said, seriously? Because I just had one not too long ago and you guys are giving me another one. Like, didn't you have a lot of candidates? And they said, yes, we did have a lot of candidates, but you won the scholarship. And I was surprised, but I was glad because I really wanted to go to that global summit. And I met so many new people at that event and being able to network with people from all over the world and touch people who I only knew virtually. So I enjoyed that. And that was just one thing where networking really paid off for me. Another thing was I got a scholarship from prokanban.org, where I got my certification to become a professional Kanban trainer. I actually was a part of that program, the Women in Kanban Scholarship Program. And me becoming a trainer with them, the first one in the Caribbean and the only one in the Bahamas, was via scholarship. Just filling out a form, filling out an application and saying, I am interested. I just took the first step. And some women who are a part of my network, they would say, well, how come you doing all these things? This probably costing you so much, but they don't know it ain't costing me nothing. It just took my time to fill out a form and apply and have the faith that I'm going to get a yes. And even if I didn't get a yes, at least I took that step to getting me where I wanted to go. I wanted to get a scholarship, so I filled out the form. I have a girlfriend who said, I'm not going to fill out the form for the scholarship because I don't think I'm going to get it. How would you know? If you don't fill it out. You know, my husband always says to me, how can you try to win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket? You're hoping that you win the lottery, but you did not buy a ticket. It takes action. It doesn't just happen. You have to make that step. And being a person of faith, we said that first, faith without works is dead. So you could have all the faith in the world, but if you don't apply action to that faith, it goes nowhere. It just stays there as a wish list. And we all have those Amazon carts full of those stuff that we have on our wish list that we wish we had the money to pay for, but we keep adding to the wish list. So I'm saying this to say, take action. You have your goals. You know what you want to accomplish. Take action. And another thing I'm going to share with you, I saw the end before I even began. What do I mean by that? Whenever I want to accomplish a goal, how I think about it is, what are the steps do I need to take to get this done? And I think about it from backwards, like the end point, and I work backwards. This is what I need to do. And if you can envision it, you can see the steps that you need to take. You know that where the blockers are going to come up and how to work around those blockers because you've already envisioned it. And like Pete said, sometimes we may not know what's required, but you have to do a little bit of research. You have to research, what does this process take? Find out who did this same thing before and what did they do to accomplish it? And then try to reach those people. Talk to those persons and say, how did you get here? Because I'm trying to get here. And that's another reason why I believe can't shouldn't exist in our vocabulary. Because if somebody accomplished something, that means it's possible. That means the same thing that they were able to accomplish, I could do the same thing. But what I have to do I may have to do more than what they did because I don't know what their particular situation is, but it means that it's not impossible. And if you look at the word impossible and you reframe it, like I always say, you have to reframe the way you think. Impossible to certain persons is this can never happen. But to me, it says to me, I'm possible. I'm possible, not impossible. So once you change the way that you think, you will see that even though we're in a global pandemic, nobody is working really, nobody's traveling, nothing is happening, the world is at a standstill, you still can accomplish your goals. I think this whole pandemic thing taught us so many things, so many valuable lessons, so many ways that we can innovate and expand on how we think. We had to come out of this proverbial box that we put ourselves in and say, we only could operate business in our geographical region. We only could be in a block and mortar. We can't be virtual. We can't have international clients. I have more international clients than I have local clients. And I just started my business in 2020. But yet, there's more international clients and persons seeking me out to work with them than persons on this island. And I think that's fascinating. And every day when I work with my project team, I just had a meeting with my project team before this call, and I wrote down where all of us are located. And I'm like, wow, I'm in the Bahamas. One person is in Brazil. One person is in Atlanta. Two persons are in California, and three persons are in Philadelphia. We're a global team, and I'm the project manager of that global team. And I just started my business in 2020, and I'm like, what the close the front door kind of moment? Like, is this real? Like, is this happening? Is this my life? Is this really happening? And I sometimes have to pinch myself because it feels like a dream. And today was one of those walking in a dream moment where you feel as though, wow, this is the person they said will never be anybody, will never accomplish anything. And here it is. I'm the first. And I love the first. I don't know why, but it's something about being the first at something that just, it causes the hair on the back of my neck to stand up. Because when you're a child and you're vulnerable and you have people just pouring negativity into your spirit, just keep pouring that negativity. You keep hearing it every day. You're a nobody. You should have an abortion. Why did you have this baby? You ruined your life. It kills your spirit. And you have to dig yourself out of that emotional ditch to get to the point where you can be the first. And persons can come to your events and they say, oh, wow, you're so impressive and you're doing this and you're doing that and you're the Energizer Bunny. Like, you just keep going. But what drives this passion? What drives this passion? Persons ask me, why do you do what you do? And I do what I do because when I decided that I would stop thinking that I had to do everything within my will, and I surrendered and said, you know what, God, it ain't working in my will because I can't do what you could do. I only could do what is in my power to do. And you know what you put me on this earth to accomplish. Me, who are a broken vessel, a teenage mother, a person who don't have no celebrity status, no notoriety. I said, you know what your will is for my life. I surrender. I give up. I tried it my way and it wasn't working. It wasn't working. It was taking me 10 years to finish college. It was taking me 20-something years to realize that the job I was on was toxic and it was killing me. But overnight, you open up these doors. You put me in place with these people who are helping me to accomplish things that the average man would look at and say is impossible. You doing it, not me. I just sit back and I go to bed with peace of mind and a prayer. And he says, okay, you at peace. So let me get to work. And he will send me these images in my dreams and say, this is the person I want you to call. This is the person I want to connect you with. And I'm like, okay, let me be obedient, because the vision that you have for me and the vision you showed me, I just have to do it one day at a time. We talk about overthinking things and trying to accomplish so much. I see the big vision for my life, I've seen it. It's huge, right? It's a big vision. But I don't have to try to boil the ocean overnight. God requires one thing of me. Accomplish what you set out to do with 86,400 seconds in one day. Break that down, and that's how I want you to think about your life. One day at a time. It's good to have these big goals. Great to have these big goals. But know your limitations and know when you need to just relax in your peace and let go and let God. Because he could do stuff overnight that will take you 20 years. But what's the funny part about it is, he lets you do you. If you want control, he goes in the back seat. And he says, okay, you want drive? Let me let you drive. And you'll be driving, and you're not getting to your destination no time soon. Because PMI told me months. God told me overnight. So when you wonder about how can I do less and accomplish more in 2024 and beyond, remember my stories, remember my life. Remember that I'm the person who's supposed to be the nobody, the teenage mother who they wrote off and said will never accomplish anything. And now I can show a slide, would have countless certifications, more on the way, countless accomplishments of firsts, the first of this, the first one in the country to do that, the only one in the Caribbean, not even just in the Bahamas, in the Caribbean to accomplish these things. The first professional Kanban trainer in the Caribbean, not just the Bahamas. So I'm not even just limited by this island or this country. I'm in a region where I'm the first. And all it took was a change of mindset, knowing that you needed to surrender. You can't do it in your will. Can't do it in your will. You could try, but it's going to take forever. And it's not going to happen the way it probably, would have happened so easy if you had just let go. We like to drive. I had to learn how to be a passenger and just have that peace to know that God is at the wheel and he knows the destination. I could even go to sleep. I could go to sleep and relax because he knows where he's taking me. He knows where he wants me to go. I can't do it all. But even though it seems like I'm doing it all, like that guy, he's like, you are the Energizer Bunny, you doing it all. Like, you must have a huge staff. I don't have a huge staff. What I have is a mindset that I can do anything. I don't believe that there's anything that I can't accomplish. Can't doesn't exist in my vocabulary. What I have is a mindset of determination that I will be the best version of myself. I will make the most of my project life because my life is a project. It's going to end. I will make the most impact that I can in this world, in the sphere of influence that I have. And I will show myself that anything is possible. So it's not about accumulating accolades, because I could care less about those letters behind my name. It's about that sense of accomplishment that I am fulfilling my purpose. I was made for a reason and I'm actually doing it. Like, how many people can say they're walking in their purpose? I meet so many people who say, I don't know my purpose in life. I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. And I'm like, okay, let me tell you what I did. I let go. I let it go. It's not for me to figure out when I'm trying to be in control. You can't be in control and be guided. That don't work. You fighting for the wheel. You have to let go. And once you let go and you really surrender, it'll become so clear, crystal clear. This is your purpose in life. This is what you were made to do. This is the impact you're going to make. And this is how you are going to do it. And that vision for your life is your blueprint. And he lays it out. But he doesn't share the blueprint. That's the sad part about it. He gives you those visions, but he doesn't give you the project plan. He doesn't tell you how this is going to happen. He just shows you that it's going to happen. And what he requires? Trust. He wants you to trust the process, that he is in control. You just have to lay back and surrender. So I don't know if this is resonating with you. I don't know if you're getting these key points. I don't know if you feel as though you're still purposely in this meetup for a reason, even though I feel as though you are here for a reason and you're here to hear this message. And like I told you, this is a hot conversation. I am going to be as honest, open, and transparent as I can possibly be. My slide deck is 11 pages, but I was told to share 1. The Lord spoke to me in the shower this morning, and my husband said, that's where he talks to me all the time. And I'm like, I've never had a conversation in the shower. This is the first. But it was like, tonight is not about a presentation. Tonight is about a testimony, because my people need to see the work that I've done in you and that what I'm doing in you, because they need to be encouraged. Because plenty people are trying to live life without the master, and it doesn't work that way. All you're doing is spinning wheels. You're not accomplishing your goals. You're not accomplishing your purpose. You're just ticking time. And time is just going by, and you're questioning, why am I here? What is my purpose? So I'm going to pause. We're at the 7 o'clock hour. Want to know if you have any questions, if anyone wants to share. To remind you that the session is being recorded and it will be posted on our YouTube channel. So if you feel as though you need to wait until we stop the recording and we have a heart-to-heart chat, that's fine. But my time for being in my secret place is over. I've had to learn how to be a bold person and to share my experience, because my life is not my own. And it doesn't matter to me if the world knows that I'm a teen mother. I was a teen mother, because today my son sent me a WhatsApp message with a business license that he just got his business license, and he moved to Canada last year, August. So my son is doing well and he's thriving, and he was called a mistake. I was told to have an abortion, but I love my son and I'm very proud of my son. And I never called my son a mistake, because my God doesn't make mistakes. He happened for a reason, and I'm proud of him. He's doing well. And if you find yourself in a situation where people tell you, you know, you ruined your life, you made a mistake, then who are them? Who are they to tell you that you ruined your life when they don't hold the plans? They don't know the vision. They don't know your purpose. So how can you speak into my life when you're not the author of my life? Simmone, I see your hand raised. Let me acknowledge that.
Yes, we have 2 questions in the chat.
Okay.
One, I'll do the simple one first. Will our participants tonight have access to the recording?
Yes. After the session has ended, my team will take the recording, put a intro on it, and then upload it to our YouTube channel. So the YouTube channel is Creative Minds Projects. If you can't find it, I'll also share a link in the post communication that we'll send out through Meetup. So once you registered for this event, you'll have the link to the recording. And I can also share my slide deck, which I did not cover tonight, but it has some information on it about limiting work in progress and a few Kanban strategies. But I was not led to talk about Kanban. I'm so sorry. So those of you who came to hear about Kanban, I'm going to send you my slide deck. I'm also going to give you the link for the blog post that I wrote for prokanban.org called Do Less, Accomplish More, and how lowering your work in progress actually results in better productivity. So I'm going to share those resources with you, and anything else that you need, I would also share. If you send me a message on LinkedIn, I will get those to you.
Awesome. And the second question, it's kind of a two-part question. I asked a question and Tashima had a follow-up question to my question. So my question was, how do you stay focused on what you want, especially when facing opposition and lack of support? And her follow-up question to that is wondering how the time management around this, especially given the theme of doing less to accomplish more, would love the insight. So how do you stay focused on what you want, especially when facing opposition and lack of support, and managing time, given the theme of tonight's topic, doing less to accomplish more?
When you're facing opposition and lack of time.
And focusing on what you want. So going after what you want, you're facing opposition, and you also need to manage your time so that you're not, overwhelmed, I
Yeah.
guess,
Okay.
and burnt out trying
Yeah.
to accomplish
Well,
more.
let me address it in increments. Facing opposition. I don't know what you mean by opposition, because is it like when you're thinking about competition, or you
No,
think,
more like what you had talked about in terms of like negativity, or people resisting what you're trying to do, people not supporting or believing in what you're doing, that type of opposition.
Okay.
Sometimes people flat out are against you and
Yeah.
against what you're trying to do. And that can
Okay.
be very daunting and
Mhm.
intimidating sometimes.
Okay, well, let me use this community of practice for the Bahamas Agile and Project Management community as an example, because this is a perfect example. When I first started this community of practice, I did some field research, first of all, to find out how many project managers were existing in the Bahamas and how many Agilists were in the Bahamas. I found one person that was a product owner, so he was an Agilist. The majority of the other persons were project managers. When I decided to form a team, we started out with like 10 of us. And we used to have hour-long meetings. And at the end of the meeting, I felt as though they had dug a hole, buried me, and stoned me to death. I left some of those meetings in tears, because the direction that they wanted the community of practice to go was not what I had received in my vision from God for this community of practice. It was persons who came in to something that was new with ulterior motives. They wanted recognition for themselves. I never gave anyone a position. I never allowed us to become where you're the president, you're the vice president. No, I said we're all team members. We're on equal footing. I didn't even want the title of founder. I wanted to be known as I'm a team member. I'm on equal footing with everybody else. We all contribute to the growth of this organization. And I will tell you, I had to stay true to the vision and not allow the opposition to deter me from what I saw in the vision, because it wasn't their vision. I'm the protector of the vision. And I had to narrow down that team from 10, and it came down to 5. And I still was feeling dejected and like my ideas weren't being envisioned and they weren't grasping it. They couldn't see the vision. And I'm like, okay, maybe I need to scale down more. And the persons who I was left with, we were a team of 3. And we're still a team of 3. And they were like, why did you scale down so much? And I had to explain it to them. Not everybody who comes around you are there to help you. Some people come to hurt you, and some people come to distract you. You have to pray for discernment to know who is supposed to be on your team and who is going to help you to accomplish your goals. Not everybody who comes is coming with good intentions. So once you realize that, and you know that, hey, this person ain't speaking my language, I need to just separate myself from them, then you can see yourself flourishing because you already have that voice in your head that you're fighting, your own voice of doubt. So why have it now from people who's supposed to be helping you and uplifting you, and they're dragging you down? So you have to surround yourself with people who can support you and realize that it is better to not have that person than to think you have that person, but you have a Judas in your camp. So Simmone, what's the other part of the question?
The time management part of being focused on what you want to accomplish. So doing less, and I heard you mention from the Kanban perspective of having less work in progress.
Yes.
So can you flesh that out a bit more? Does that mean that we have to have less goals, or just
no.
That we have to allocate how we are working? Because I remember Sarah saying at the very beginning that she felt like she bit off more than she could chew.
Yes.
So in a case like that, what could you advise in a case like that where I feel like I have so much to accomplish?
Yes.
You're telling me that I could do less. How would I do that?
Great question. And I would always ask, who thinks that they're an excellent multitasker? Like, you're an excellent multitasker. You can juggle like any circus performer. You're a juggler. You do very well doing multiple things at the same time. And when person said, I'm excellent at multitasking, I said, no, you're not. You're not. Because if you really think about it, how many of us can take a phone call and type an email at the same time? And our conversation on the phone doesn't end up in that email. How many of us can do that? Like, I cannot take a phone call whilst I'm typing an email. I have to stop and either tell a person on the phone, listen, I have to call you back, or I have to finish my email. It doesn't happen. And you know why? Because we're not wired to do two things at the same time. We just tell ourselves that we can do two things at the same time, but something suffers, something encounters errors, and we do something wrong. But we don't want to accept that because we're taught that on our resumes, we need to put excellent at multitasking because that's an asset. That's what hiring managers are looking for. That's what they want to know, that you can juggle. You can juggle this and you can juggle that. It doesn't work. So when you talk about multitasking and time management, you will find out that you accomplish so much more if you lower the amount of things that you're doing at the same time. If you would stop starting and start finishing, I assure you, you will have so much things accomplished at the end of the day or at the end of the week or however long you want to gauge that time frame. If you would just stop starting things and then starting more things. Because you can only get one thing across the finish line at a time. But we want to think that multitasking is great. We want to think that if I have 10 things on my desk and I'm doing 10 things at the same time, that 10 things are going to get done. No, it's not. So it's all a matter of changing the way you think about the way that you work. You can only do one thing, do it correctly, do it timely, do it efficiently and effectively if you focus on that one thing. And that's how you manage your time. You only take on what you have capacity to complete. Stop taking on work that you have no capacity to complete. The more things you have in motion, the less things are getting done. That's what Kanban tells us. Lower your WIP or lower your work in progress to increase your throughput. Throughput means the amount of things that I'm getting done. I'm actually getting them done. I'm not just saying I'm busy because we all can be busy. We all are always busy. But your goal is to be productive. And you can only be productive if you stop taking on things you have no capacity to take on. Simmone, what's the next question? I hope you guys got that one. Because Kanban is a good strategy about time management and by visualizing your work so that you can see how much things are in motion, but limiting the work that's in progress is the key. Limiting your work in progress, and you'll accomplish so much more.
So really limiting work in progress is not lessening the goals, but just minimizing what you're working on at the present time.
Yes, I have many goals. I'm not going to lessen my goals. I'm going to keep increasing my goals. But how many of those goals can I work on at the same time? How many books can I be reading at the same time? How many certifications can I be preparing for at the same time? Unless they have content that's related, and I'm taking piece out of this book and I'm taking piece out of that book, but you only could sit one exam at one time. You can't, why would I start the timer on 2 exams at the same time? It's the same thing with life. You only can accomplish one thing at a time.
That's very liberating. Thank you for that. We don't have any more questions in the chat, but if we do have another minute or so, if you would like to open your mic and share a question or a comment, your takeaway from this session, anything that was an aha moment for you, anything that you're going to be able to put into your practice, because that's the most important thing coming out of these types of sessions. How can I take whatever nugget I would have gleaned from this to put into practice in my own life and in my own work? Our life is a project. I love that. You better put that somewhere, my dear, before we all take it.
Well, actually, Simmone, that's the name of my first book that I'm writing right now.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, Life is a Project, Manage It Well. So
Woo!
that's going to be published this year. That's one of my goals.
I love that. I love that. I can't wait for my copy. Signed, of course.
Yes.
And again, AO is asking for the recording, so definitely connect with and subscribe to the YouTube page so that you can access the recording of this session. Andrea Smith, please go ahead and unmute your mic and share.
Good evening, everyone. Andrea, I just want to say you are more than my namesake. You are a godsend. I received every word that you said. We have our testimonies are so similar. I too was a teen mother, and I would like to talk to you more in depth. But several things today really just hit me when you started out talking about time that we can't get back. You know, it was very surreal. You know, a lot of times we have goals and we have dreams, but the biggest thing is just starting, right? And we don't know how much time we have. So that really spoke to me. And then lastly, the surrounding of your village. I think that is so important. It's what's gotten me to this place where I am now. The world is always going to be the world. There are always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be people who are negative. And you have to find something or someone, a group of people that are going to speak life into you, right? That are going to encourage you. And I think that that's the most important thing I have learned through this journey of project management. Is having those contacts, those people who are my village, my network. When I actually have a project where I literally wanted to get in my flesh, and I had to call my coworker and was like, okay, talk me off this ledge. Because I work with a lot of men and I work with a lot of Indians, and sometimes they don't respect women. And so you know, just having that person that is going to be there, or those group of people that encourage you in your craft, you know, and to remind you that you're doing a great job, you know, and to speak positive things is so important. So I appreciate tonight. I'm so grateful to have met you and be a part of this, and I'm really excited to all the things that God will do in the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We have a few minutes left. Normally before we end our meetups, we ask everyone if they want to turn on their camera so we can take a quick pic for social media, just to celebrate our time together. Like I said, the session is being recorded and we will upload the recording to our YouTube channel and share that on the meetup page for those who registered for the event. And I would like to encourage you all to keep joining us. You know, we're a small community of practice. When I say small, we have 800 plus followers. That's not really small for a community that just started a few years ago. But every session, we try to have a very interesting speaker who's a subject matter expert. And like I said, tonight's talk was supposed to be more about Kanban, less about life, but I was led in a different direction. And I hope that you would accept that leading, because I have to be obedient. And I do not want to sell you any Kanban training, but you can follow me on LinkedIn if you're interested in any certifications in Kanban. I am a professional Kanban trainer. And just follow me on LinkedIn in general, because I'd love to continue the conversations. I would love to link up with you and talk about what it is that you're trying to accomplish, your goals, and help you strategize, even help motivate you and say, well, listen, just start, you know. And Simmone can attest to that, because Simmone and I are working on a project right now, trying to help her to get to that finish line. And I'm like, Simmone, you know, the time for procrastination is over. You know, we need to just get this to done, and I'm going to help you to get it to done. So Simmone knows, once I set my mind on accomplishing something, it's going to get done, because I realize that we are only here for but a moment. So we have to take action. So if you would turn on your cameras, we're going to take a quick snapshot. I'm sorry that some persons left, but we know they were here. And we'll take our photo for our social media page. I'm going to do it very quickly. So smile. Okay, got it. And Simmone, you can close us out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrea, for this hot conversation tonight, honest, open, and transparent about your life, your accomplishments, the things that could have been roadblocks and deterrents, but you use them as fuel to your fire to keep you pushing and moving ahead. Thank you for your commitment and your passion, and thank you for sharing with us tonight. Thank you to all that joined us for the first time, and we hope that this won't be your last time. Thank you for those who have returned and are continuing to follow the community. Feel free to join. It is absolutely free, and we hope that you will continue to be a part of what we're doing so that you can, again, be a part of this community of practice, be a part of people who will positively affirm and support and encourage you to your goals. And thank you again for being a part of tonight's session. Do less, accomplish more in 2024. Thank you again. Have a great rest of your week and weekend.
Thank you. Good night.